Welcome to Creature Club. It's a weekly podcast all about the monsters of Dungeons & Dragons. I'm Daniel, and I am joined by my co-host, Mikey.
Hello!
Every week we take a monster from the Monster Manual 5th edition book, and we review it. We talk about how it works, we talk about how we might use it, and we talk about how we can play with its abilities or its lore to better fit our settings, your settings, or just provide us with material to use for adventures or anything else.
Yeah, what he said. What that man said. So yeah, today's show is going to be a very I think sleepy one for me, because I am quite as we like to say, sick with the drink. Yeah, I am a bit hungover right now, but hey man, I got to record that podcast for you guys at home.
So with all that said, this podcast is brought to you by hangovers. They are bad and they get worse when you get older.
Yes.
Like I only had my first ever proper hangover for like your going away party, and I was like, is this what it's like?
That was fun, yeah, because we were actually just up we were up to like the early hours of the morning talking shite, listening to tunes. Everybody went home.
It's just the two of us. Yeah, that was great.
Yes, so we're still on demons. We're still doing it. We want to get through these guys, but there's still a bunch of really cool guys here for us to do, so we're gonna give it the treatment they deserve. So next on the demons is the Marilith. The it's kind of normally depicted as a top half of a lady with 6 arms and 6 swords, and the bottom half of a big snake. Yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. How long has this femme fatale been in D&D, Daniel?
That was a really good description.
Yeah,
that's very good. So the unfortunately, there's not a lot of history on the Marilith. It's in terms of its basis, it's based on it's inspired apparently by Hindu deities. The idea of having multiple arms.
Yeah.
But we don't get a lot more detail than that. We don't have a direct source, and certainly when I reviewed the list of Hindu deities, I couldn't find one who I felt really was similar, and so I think it might well be the case that it's more of a sort of a inspired by the ideas rather than by anything directly. But I could be wrong, and I'd love for someone to correct me if they know better. In terms of their history in Dungeons and Dragons, they began as Type 5 demons, where they were simply a type of Type 5 demons. But from the from sort of 2nd edition onwards, we got a more direct description of them. They were called a hissing demon, and then they were called a Marilith. They were first given their proper name in 2nd edition as a Marilith, and then they had some relationship with the whole Tanari thing, but obviously wizards have moved away from that in this book, so I'm not interested in reading on it. But suffice to say, it was sort of a way of representing the different kinds of demons that existed in the lower planes. So it's existed in every edition since. It hasn't really got a lot of, in terms of the sort of basic monster that we have in this book here, we haven't seen a lot of changes. But we do have, they have been used a lot in different fiction. They've been used a lot in stories. There's a lot of examples of them. There's a lot of, so for example, there's a list here on the Wikipedia page, but just to give you a few books that they are from, there's Baltoy from Van Richten's Guide to Fiends. Van Richten is sort of D&D's own version of Van Helsing, who has sort of like, back in 2nd edition, there was a bunch of books sort of like supposedly written by him that are all about how to fight different monsters and different rules that they had and different effects they could generate for your world. But the most sort of distinct one is Shaktari, who is the sort of called the Queen of Poison, but is also names herself, leader of all Mariliths. But because of the nature of the Abyss as a chaotic place, there's not really anyone to prove that. It's just that she's the biggest and the strongest, and so she gets to be in charge.
Yeah, it's a very demon thing where, like, if you think you're strong enough, then you're like, all right, I'm the leader. I'm the head honcho now because I'm strong enough to do that. And that's just kind of what demons do, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and she rules over Vuldra. I think it's called Vuldra. Let me see here.
Vudra.
Yeah, no, sorry, Vudra, which is the 531st layer of the abyss.
Wow.
If you were interested.
Hope you're keeping count, guys.
Yeah, so she rules over there. Vudra is described as sort of there's a thing here. Tricante the Insantifer once wrote of Vuldra as a dismal agglomeration of tropical islands choked with impenetrable jungles and surrounded by oceans of heaving blood.
All right.
So that sort of gives you an idea of where these creatures come from and what sort of circumstances they live in. And so this queen, Shaktari, kind of claims dominion over the entire plane. And as the most powerful creature there, that's true, basically, by the nature of the abyss.
Wow. That's pretty rad. That's pretty hardcore as well.
It is.
Yeah, just looking, there's a lot of named ones here, but...
There is actually. I think they've been used a lot because they are kind of... They're both high-level demons, but also... their lore has always been that, like, they are unique among demons in that they are sort of tactical. They're kind of battle leaders, they're described as. Like, they organize other demons into kind of battle groups so that they can fight. And so I think the implication is that makes them appear a bit more, not necessarily lawful, but like almost more like there's more humanity there that you can speak with, or there's a reasonable creature there that you can negotiate with, or that you can interact with, more than just kind of, it's the big gorilla, it's the big red gorilla, get your longsword out sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely in the higher intelligence tier, I guess, but kind of looking at it, it's not. Yeah, no, but up there with the higher ones. I wouldn't say she's the smartest or the most intelligent or the most wise, because I'm just looking at the numbers here.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, no, I totally agree. Real
quick, because I noticed as well that the Marilith actually is also a Final Fantasy kind of reoccurring kind of boss, I think.
Cool.
She was in Final Fantasy 1 and was part of the Four Fiends of Chaos, and then it came back in a bunch of games, but one that I remember fighting is in Final Fantasy 9, which is kind of like almost very much inspired by the first Final Fantasy, and then that's where you fight the Four Fiends, who are Four Fiends of Chaos, who is like the Marilith, the Kraken, and Tiamat, actually. That's I remember she was one. So
cool.
So kind of D&D. I think they were inspired by role-playing monsters when they put it into the game. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. So go ahead and read what's in the book then.
Book says, Marilith. Terrible to behold, a Marilith has the lower body of a great serpent and the upper torso of a humanoid female with 6 arms. Wielding a wicked blade in each of its 6 hands, a Marilith is a devastating foe that few can match in battle. These demons possess keen minds and a finely honed sense of tactics, and they are able to lead and unite other demons in common cause. Mariliths are often encountered as captains at the head of a demonic horde, where they embrace any opportunity to rush headlong into battle.
She is just like... I think she's just super rad, because she just kind of reminds me of like a shonen villain who's super intelligent and just like, I have 6 swords and I am stronger than you and smarter than you. See if you can defeat me, hero.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. I think it's a really cool monster. I really like the design of it. I feel like it feels, if I were to make a complaint, it would be that like it feels very different to the other demons in that like the top half is just a lady.
Yeah.
Like that's a bit weird. You know?
Just a lady, yeah.
Like you look next to it and it's like the mains is like it's like the zombie of Danny DeVito. And then the Herzo is like the Hezrau is sort of like sort of Hulk frog. And if you keep going back to like Garistro is like a Minotaur. The Glabrizu is like, it's not like anything else actually. The Glabrizu is very unique, and that's kind of true for a lot of these demons. They've always got little sparks of uniqueness, and I don't think the Marilith isn't unique, but I think it's like it's weird because it just looks, it's like a woman with a snake body. And like, I know the thing is like, oh, well, it's the abyss. It's chaotic, in a truly random system. Sometimes you're going to get a woman on top of a snake. And
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, absolutely. But it's a bit weird, isn't it? Like, how come no one else gets to look so attractive? Like, it doesn't seem fair on the like mons or whatever.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of to do with when you're making a female monster, you kind of want to go with the attractive female side. I think that's what people kind of do. But sure, we won't talk about that. But I guess if you really want to, you can always.
That's a whole can of worms.
That's a whole nother one.
We don't.
But but honestly, if you want to kind of play around with it a lot more, make it a bit more chaotic, you can describe her top half as like anything really. She can be more demony looking. You kind of maybe, I wouldn't say exactly like kind of like a tiefling kind of look, but that's more like devil. But you can kind of go in that. Make her look completely batshit ugly like the mains as well. So you can do a lot. You can do a lot with that. So
yeah, I agree. Yes, and it would almost be. It would almost be nice if it was like more, I don't know, a little more consistent. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. It's just something that I think is weird.
Yeah,
like maybe just make it snaky. Maybe just keep the snake going so that it's just like, you might look a bit more like a UNT, but like that's fine. The UNT can then summon them, and that's cool.
Yeah, or like a snake body and I don't know, a dog head.
Oh, that's good actually. I like that. Yeah, like a snake bot. Yeah, like a beagle with big floppy ears, but like really angry looking.
No, really happy looking, just kind of like tongue out and like.
He's just happy to be here. He got invited. To be honest.
Yeah, like it's still the same ferocity in battle, but just that like kind of that stupid face, absolutely. Like. Oh man,
you truly were a good boy.
Oh man,
that's I think that's a great idea. Just like literally do the classic, like the body of an X with the head of a Y, like just like fucking Mad Lib out like a Marilith, so it looks more like monstrous. Shall we jump into the actual stat block?
Yeah, let's do it. Cool. Let's jump in. Alright, Marilith, Large Fiend, Demon, Chaotic Evil. Armor class 18, Natural Armor, which is kind of weird because she looks like she's wearing armor in the picture. And 18 for natural armor is kind of a lot, but I guess that's because her dex is high. We'll get there. Anyways, I'll go through it all and then we'll talk about hit points. 189, 18 d10 plus 90. Speed 40 feet. Strength 18, Dex 20, Constitution 20, Intelligence 18, Wisdom 16, Charisma 20. That's a pretty good stat array.
Yeah, Jesus.
Re-roll that. DM, they're cheating.
I rolled this at home.
Strength. Saving throws. Sorry. Strength plus 9, Constitution plus 10, Wisdom plus 8, Charisma plus 10, damage resistances. Cold, fire, lightning, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical weapons. Damage immunities, poison. Condition immunities, poisoned. So if you guys haven't listened to our other episodes, every single other demon has had, or most other demons have had, those resistances and immunities to a degree. Senses, true sight, 120 feet. Passive perception, 13. So true sight, the second one to have true sight, I think, in demons. The first one was the Balor.
Yeah, I think you're right. Good spot there, man.
So true sight is basically you can see everything.
You can always see.
I can see absolutely everything. No, I guess you can see through invisibility.
Yes, and you can see into the ethereal planes. You can see ghosts.
Yes,
which is cool.
So you can't go past this lady. Languages, abyssal, fucking hell, telepathy, 120 feet.
I wasn't going to say anything, man, I swear.
God damn it. I cannot never say it. Challenge rating, 16. And that's 15,000 experience points.
That's a lot of experience. What would you spend that experience on, Mikey?
Let's see. I already got my concept art, my new skin. I'd say just like sword.
Nice.
Good one, like a good sword, you know.
Oh, like a good sword.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
a good sword. All right, no, well, you can't get that. No, it's impossible.
No, you can't afford it.
Yeah.
I think I just get like 3 Hezraus and just, get them to sort of do the dishes and stuff.
Oh man, can I change mine? Is it too late? Nah, it's too late.
I'm very sorry. No takesies backsies.
No. All right. So abilities. Magic resistance. The Marilith has advantage on saving throws against spells or other magical effects. Has magic weapons. The Marilith's weapon attacks are magical. And it has a reactive ability. The Marilith can take 1 reaction on every turn in a combat. Wow.
So rather than having 1 reaction per round, it has 1 reaction per turn,
right.
Which is wicked good, but is pretty thematic given that she has so many arms and a tail.
Yes. All right. And would you like to do the actions there, Danielle?
Sure thing. I would love to. Okay, so this is where it gets very exciting. Actions, multi-attack. The Marilith makes 7 attacks. 6 with its long swords, and 1 with its tail.
Cheating. Cheater.
Cheater. I don't know. I can imagine being like a high-level fighter and just fighting a Marilith, and it's like, I will have more attacks than you ever will. It's like, I don't want to play anymore.
Yeah, but if you're a high-level fighter, you got like 3 attacks as well, so you're kind of like...
You can action surge and do what she does like once, and then you're like, okay, I'm out.
That would be so rad, though. Just like you kind of trading blows.
Would, yeah, that would actually be extremely cool. Okay, cool. So then the longsword themselves, so she has 6 of these attacks. Melee weapon attack plus 9 to hit, reach 5 feet. 1 target, hit, 13 damage on average, or 2d8 plus 4 slashing damage. That's pretty good. That's a big longsword.
Yeah.
Then on to the tail, which she always gets to make as part of the same multi-attack. It's another melee weapon attack, and it also has plus 9 to hit, but it has a reach of 10 feet, so it's got a little bit more reach than the longswords. Targets 1 creature. On a hit, it deals 2d10 plus 4, or an average of 15 bludgeoning damage. If the target is a medium or smaller creature, it is grappled. Escape DC 19, that's pretty tough. And you automatically get grappled as part of being hit as well, which is bad news for you. Until the grapple ends, the target is restrained. The Marilith can automatically hit the target with its tail, and the Marilith can't make tail attacks against other targets. Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Finally, teleport. The Marilith magically teleports along with any equipment it is wearing or carrying up to 120 feet to an unoccupied space it can see. So that's a pretty good way to... well, it's very flexible, to be honest.
Yeah.
It does mean that they don't get to make any weapon attacks at all, but it is a great way to reposition during battle.
Yeah. Which is a very cool thing for a boss to do, I think, where... you don't have to stay in the same place. You can kind of teleport around and re-strategize. It kind of gives a little bit more of a dynamic combat. So this teleport, the Balor has the same thing. So I guess it's kind of cool that she is
that's interesting. Yeah,
up there in that kind of power level, I guess.
Yeah, almost like a high-level demon thing of like, high-level demons can just step through reality because it's like, this isn't real. I'm from the real place. It's weird down there.
Yeah.
And then the Marilith has a reaction, which is very appropriate given that it can take a reaction every turn. And its reaction is very good. Parry. The Marilith adds 5 to its AC against 1 melee attack that would hit it. To do so, the Marilith must see the attacker and be wielding a melee weapon, which, given that it has a tail, it always is.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an interesting... But yeah, anyway. Unless I guess the tail is... Well, yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. Because the tail is counted as a melee weapon attack, but does it count as being equipped with a melee weapon?
That's very... Yeah, it does say melee weapon attack.
Yeah, it's weird. I think maybe it doesn't, even though it is a melee weapon attack, because I think your unarmed strikes aren't weapon attacks. That's weird. That is.
Well, it says if you're wielding a melee weapon. I guess that's just rules lawyering.
Yeah,
if you're
it's just being like the parry attack, the parry reaction. Like a couple of creatures have it, so let's be consistent. Just for it's like if you do and I guess in fairness maybe the idea is like your tail doesn't count as a melee weapon, so if you can like command the Marilith to drop its swords, then it does lose its reaction, which is good.
Yeah, but yeah, she's got like 6 swords though. She's not really gonna ever like. She's barely ever gonna drop all of them. I think so. Like I don't think it'll ever come to a point where she has to use her tail, or maybe I don't know.
And even if she does drop all her weapons, it doesn't make her. She doesn't have to make less attacks because she only needs 1 longsword to make her longsword attack.
Right. Yeah.
Because it doesn't say you need it doesn't say that anywhere in the rules. If she has 1 longsword, she can make 6 longsword attacks.
Yeah.
And her other hands are just doing like star signs or whatever.
Yeah.
And then there's a section here. There's a little bit of lore just folded in naturally into the game.
The temple was strewn with body parts. We concluded that the cultists had summoned a powerful demon and not lived to regret it. Not wanting to get hacked to pieces ourselves, we cut short our expedition and returned to the village of Hamlet with our tails between our legs. Rufus and Byrne had a good laugh at our expense, let me tell you. And that was by Nelume, a young half-elf wizard, chronicling her one and only visit to the Temple of Elemental
Evil.
The Temple of Evil.
Oh no.
Yeah, so that's a bit of, I guess, lore that you don't want to go up against a Marilith, I guess, because they're strong.
Because they have many swords.
Because of all those swords, man. Like, come on, what are you doing? Right, so real quick, I got a couple 4E things I want to say. I got this is kind of a couple. It has similar abilities. It has what's the one again that I want to look at? Oh yeah, Weapon Dance, which I think is very cool. But I think it's mainly it's a very 4E thing. But I just kind of thought it was a cool image. But the Marilith makes 6 scimitar attacks. Each time it hits, the Marilith shifts 1 square. So it's kind of a cool image of like using it kind of like a dance to maneuver around the room and move around the arena, which I just kind of wanted to bring that up. What's the other one? The Shroud of Steel. The Marilith makes 2 scimitar attacks and uses the other scimitars to parry incoming attacks, gaining +4 bonuses. So that's his kind of the parry ability. So I think that's kind of what we have already. Hacking Blades. The Marilith makes a scimitar attack against an enemy, and that's a free when adjacent enemy misses an attack against you. So that's kind of like a parry.
Oh, wow, that's cool. It's like a riposte.
Yes, very much. Which that could be cool if you want to make a super.
Yeah, that would actually be really cool. Because then it's like that it can improve its AC, but you also know if you miss, then you're gonna get like shivved in the side.
Yeah.
But maybe have that be like because the parry uses its reaction, you could either have it be that like it's a reaction choice of either increase your AC or if they miss, hit them, or you could say like you can do this once per round, like once per round if someone misses it with a melee attack, you can hit back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Cool.
Because obviously otherwise it would just be like constantly fucking stabbing you every time you miss, and you'd be like,
oh yeah,
Jesus, stop.
Maybe that can be a cool legendary action if you're making like a boss Marilith. Maybe just give her a couple of those ripostes.
Parry riposte.
Yeah, parry riposte. So what do we have to say about the stat block?
This stat block is really cool and I like it.
Yeah,
I think it's a great boss. I think it's got I think it's got a really, really I think it's a nice creature that feels half boss like, because on the one hand it doesn't have legendary actions or legendary resistance, but on the other hand it has so many attacks that it does feel, and combined with its high move speed, it does feel like it could do that thing where it like rushes the whole party and literally just like gets everyone at once.
Yeah.
Like fucking, in Jet Li's Hero when he does the like thousands of slashes along the scrolls.
Oh yeah. Like
that kind of thing. Like that's what I'm imagining. So yeah, I like it. I feel like it's built to lead a gang. I feel like a Marilith is. I think we get that in the lore, but I also think that the nature of it not having like those boss-like abilities, like legendary actions, legendary resistance, or a lair. I think from that we're supposed to conclude that it's supposed to be leading a gang, and I think in that context, it's cool because it's a really good boss that's very straightforward and very dangerous at the same time.
Yeah.
Like it's like, if you could literally make it like, a very simple flowchart that says If there's someone nearby, it goes up to them and attacks them. If there's no one nearby, it teleports to be next to the weakest member of the party. It always uses its like reactions to like opportunity attack or to block enemy attacks. And then you could have stuff like, and I feel like it would play very well with like some kind of like artillery style demons. Like maybe like two kind of like sort of small thingies that are like chucking fireballs or whatever, and then maybe one kind of tank that deals a bit less damage, like the what you call it, the Balgura or Barlgura even.
Yeah.
Would be a great example. But yeah, I really like it as a stat block. What do you think, Mikey?
Same here, actually. I honestly think so far, just as stats alone, it's just probably my favorite demon.
I get that.
Number 2 being Balor. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I really like. It just has it's simple stat block. You kind of have everything it is here, but it just kind of gives you a lot of ideas of how the fight can go, how you should present it, how like it just seems like a cool fight where it's you could actually picture like it's really cool if she was against a gang, but you can kind of picture her like taking on your entire party by herself.
Yeah, I know, right? Because like so many swords to block.
So many swords, and you can get that like badass boss just taking you on alone, and then maybe when your characters level up, then she can have a gang or something. But it's just a lot of simple stuff in there. Like simple in concept. I mean, where like you have like a teleport, a parry, magical resistance and stuff. But you can add on a lot more abilities, as we done with the 4E stuff there, or like magical swords, like different ability. Like you can do a lot with her, and it's very cool.
Yeah.
You can probably give her armor, but that will make her armor class very high. But if you want to make a legendary boss, then that's fine.
Shall we jump into round 3?
Ooh, fight! Ding ding. We're really messing around with the metaphors now of
I'm sorry.
how this show is presented. First it was a restaurant, then it's a train, and then it's a boxing match. Sorry, yeah. But yeah, all right, let's do it. Dinner time.
Shall we? We've kind of already talked about what we do in the Matrix room, I guess.
Yeah.
Because, like, as you say, it is just like a sort of one woman army sort of thing, where it's like standing in the middle of like the whole party at once and just deflecting everyone's attacks and counterattacking and everything.
Yes. So, but she's a level 16 or challenge rating 16, so that's 4 level 16 guys. So yeah, it'll probably be because she has so many attacks, it'll still be kind of a challenge, or like a balanced fight at least. It wouldn't be like your party are like gonna take her down, or they won't get it. They'll take her down like 1 turn or 2 turns, and they won't get hit at all. But because she has 7 attacks per turn, they get a bit of damage done to them, I'd say. So
yeah, I get that. Like, yeah, I would totally agree. I think in terms of how the fight would go, I think it would be pretty quick because it doesn't have, it has a lot of health, it has 189, but if it's fighting 4 level 16 characters at once, they are going to be able to output a lot of damage. And if they have a paladin on their team, it's going to like cut through a Marilith pretty quickly.
Yes.
And in terms of resisting that, it can make its AC 23. So like it's possible that it will miss, but even still, I think a fight of a whole party against a Marilith would be a case of like they will have a lot of they will take a lot of damage, and as a result, I imagine they will last not too long. But I do think that the mixture of their high speed, lots of attacks, and their ability to teleport means that like they can kind of like surprise the party a little bit and get close to the back line and do things that the party doesn't expect. And certainly the Marilith is intelligent enough and clever enough that it can tell, for example, that wizard isn't wearing as much armor as the paladin.
Yeah.
And even if you think about it from the point of view of like, if you imagine the Marilith, like the paladin steps forward to try and fight the Marilith like rushes past the paladin towards the wizard. The paladin gets an attack of opportunity, and the Marilith just uses its reaction to block it. Like it parries their blow as it flies by, and then like harries the wizard, like slices them into dozens of pieces.
Yeah, if you're gonna use the Marilith as a fight, then you're gonna try and fight smart. You can kind of she's kind of presented as like a tactician, I think, and I think that'll be a cool way of doing it. So now's your chance to not exactly metagame, but yeah, I guess kind of metagame if you get what I'm saying.
I mean, I don't know. I think it depends. Like, are the players metagaming when like someone in wizard robes starts casting spells and then the barbarian goes over to hit them instead of the knight? Like, is that metagaming?
Yeah, not really. I guess you're right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not really like it's metagaming to be like, I know the wizard doesn't have any shield left, or like doesn't have shields prepared. That's metagaming.
Yeah.
Like Marilith's being smart combatants is there's two stupid mortals in my realm. One of them looks like a tin can, and one of them is wearing pajamas. I'm gonna kill the guy in pajamas. Like,
why are you going into why are you going to the demon realm in pajamas?
Because these are my pajamas. I was getting ready for bed.
And then you're like a call to adventure.
Oh man, can I get dressed? No, there's no time.
No time. Oh man,
I'm gonna be so embarrassed. I'm gonna feel so out of place. I'm so underdressed.
Yeah. Why am I here? I want to go home. Yes,
go home
but
now.
that does make sense. So it wouldn't exactly be metagaming.
Yeah, it's not exactly metagaming, but you can become metagaming. So I guess it's one of those things where you have to have a balanced approach.
Yeah. I guess like the point I was making is player smart, player as a tactician. You can do that. That's the best way to do it. All right. So Daniel, you were talking about before the show.
Yeah.
You were doing a bit of research on a Marilith boss from an adventure that you're reading. That sounded very cool, and I like it a lot. So can we mention it on the show?
Absolutely. I really want to talk about this. This is an adventure called Nemesis. It's by, interestingly enough, it's from Dragon Magazine number 60, which is, as you can imagine, a very long time ago.
Yeah.
But I think it's 1996, if anyone's curious. So, like, when I was 3 years old, when we were both 3 years old, we have the same birthday. So this is an adventure called Nemesis, written by here it says Christopher Perkins, but we would know him better as Chris Perkins, one of the lead designers on the current edition of Dungeons and Dragons, 5th edition that we are playing. It's a really interesting adventure called Nemesis. It's a planescape adventure, which just means it takes place kind of in the different planes of D&D. In this case, obviously, it takes place in Vudra, which we've described before. The adventure has a bit of setup, but the main thing is that there is a Marilith called Kaliva. Kaliva wasn't born a Marilith, but was basically cursed by a jerk wizard because she was like, you're a creep and I don't want to date you. And so he was like, well, what if I make you a demon? And she's like, now you're really a creep and I don't want to date you. So now she's a demon, and so, but she obviously is like, that guy is a creep and I'm going to kill him. So to do that, she is using her underling, Raja Khan, her Rakshasa henchman, to retrieve a set of four magical swords that she's going to wield to kill this wizard. And it describes them here. It says, so far, Raja Khan has retrieved 3 of the swords: Starzad, a Vorpal scimitar; Fazablur, a bastard sword of unparalleled quickness; and Wizardbane, a long sword that endows its wielder with additional magic resistance. Soon, the 4th blade will fall into her clutches. Midnight, a broadsword that drains the life force from its victims. Once all weapons are in her possession, the banished Marilith intends to track down and destroy her old nemesis. All 4 swords have one thing in common. Until recently, they were located somewhere in Sigil, which is basically a sort of city, a sort of the crux point of all the planes. It's called like the City of Doors, but all you need to know is just it's a kind of a slightly supernatural city. But yeah, so this sounds Very cool.
Yeah, very, very cool. I love it.
I love the idea. I suppose I love the hook of this adventure, and I recommend anyone who is interested to look up Dragon Magazine 60, find it and read it. I'm not going to obviously read out this whole adventure, but like from what I've read, it looks really cool. Like it seems really exciting. There's this nice kind of arc to it where the person, you're kind of caught in the middle of this weird, like, sword collecting adventure and stuff. But what I'm really attracted to is just the fact that, like, the Mariliths wield multiple magical swords of different kinds all at once. I think that's such a cool idea. And even the idea of a Marilith having more magical swords than arms and choosing what weapons to wield based on who they fight.
Yeah. You can kind of do almost like what the Beholder does with the different eye stalks and the different abilities, but you just do them with swords, and it's not as chaotic. You can kind of choose, like, you can choose what you want to do next because it's just a sword.
Yeah, exactly.
Just the idea of giving the Marilith a magical, like an array of magical weapons is just super cool, and I think
it should be cool.
It should be done if you are ever making like a boss Marilith,
Totally. Absolutely agree. In that vein, I was also looking at an adventure called The Shackled City, which is a big, long adventure. It's massive, and I won't go into it, but there is a named Marilith in it called Biakala, Smoking Eye, Smoking Eye is like a sort of a template, like a monster template, like the half dragon we have in this book, that was applied to this Marilith just to give it some extra powers. But realistically, all you need to know is it's a Marilith, and it gets a bunch of gear. It actually has some cool treasure listed. I'm going to read them out here just to give some people some ideas. There's a +2 Unholy Longsword, a +2 Anarchic Longsword, a +2 Trident, a Keen Scimitar, a Shock Flail, and a Kukri. So that, again, there's that idea that, like, it's sort of wielding almost more weapons than it would use at once, and it just sort of picks and chooses based on who it's fighting.
I'm gonna stab you with my trident. Die.
Does that Marilith have a trident? So that's in terms of previous adventures. I do think a Marilith is great for that kind of thing. I like them as sort of very martial demons obsessed with, like, prowess and almost like, I really like the idea, like, a fun trait for Mariliths to have would be like that they love magic swords, as a way to both bargain with them but also, like, as treasure they will have when you beat them.
I did have something and I completely forgot.
All right, you want me to keep talking and we'll
keep talking and that might come back to me. Yeah, sorry.
It's fine, don't worry about it.
Dude, I'm lying down here and I'm
you stick with the drink, it's fine.
Yeah, I'm just not here in this. I'm very sorry for everybody listening to this episode, but
you're drifting.
Yeah, I'm drifting. I'm kind of drifting, but yes, keep talking and I remember what I'm about to say.
No, you don't have to worry about it, man. Don't worry. Okay, so in terms of the abilities that the Marilith, in terms of sort of adventure hooks we could set around Mariliths, I really, really like them. It doesn't say anything about that here, but I really like the idea of I almost like the idea, because they're so different in some ways, I like the idea that maybe the Mariliths are somehow not quite part of the, like, abyssal structure. So maybe, like, they are, for the purposes of, where they come from, they're demons, but their, like, high intelligence and free will means that, like, they actually wander a lot more than other demons. I like the idea that, like, if you're traveling, like, say, I don't know, like the astral sea or like one of the elemental planes, that, like, a genie or, like, some like, I don't know, Gith or whatever, like, have a Marilith as, like, a mercenary on board.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that. Like you go to you end up fighting, like, a bunch of like Gith pirates, and, like, one of their crew members is, like, this mercenary, this massive, like, Marilith who, like, pulls out 6 different enchanted swords to fight you with all at once. I like the idea of them working for genies and stuff like that. I think I just like any excuse for, like, them to. Oh, I've just come up with a really good idea. I really like the idea that the party fight a Marilith, and because of the fact that, like, if a demon is destroyed outside the abyss, it just shows up back in the abyss. I love the idea that the party beat a Marilith, and like say the party have like a fighter, like a sword fighter, and it just goes like that person, that mortal is my rival, and they keep coming up with ways to go back to the planes, but like they aren't it like they're they're like playing the great game of the abyss, right? Like they manipulate demon lords into giving them armies and portals so that they can get back into the material plane, but when they do, they just want to find like your party member because they want to duel you again to see if they're better.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Like so like you're just like fucking demons again, they keep showing up, but like it's like every time it's just this one Marilith who like is like I will prove that I'm better than you, I'm gonna beat you.
Yeah.
And so like every time it like shows up and you duel it again, and like eventually like when you're like really high level, you're like, no, this time I can do it on my own, and like the party like step off and maybe deal with the demons around it, but like it's just the two of you like dueling one-on-one in this fucking like burning village as like demons run around.
That's so rad. That is I love reoccurring villains. It's just your party, they just get so much into a villain when it comes back more than once.
Yeah.
And because it's a demon, you can definitely do that. Where when you defeat it, it just goes back to the abyss, and that's it.
Yeah.
So you can make it reoccurring, but that's just that's so rad. Maybe you can like. Maybe at the end you kind of start to like each other and respect each other, and then they work with you to defeat the big bad. I don't know. I'm just doing tropes here from storytelling.
No, I mean,
but that's super cool.
I love that. That's really good. Like even just the idea that like, because like what I really like about that as a reoccurring villain is that it's a reoccurring villain where it's not up to the party to deal with it. Like it's not up to the party to like. Almost like they don't have to go looking for the villain, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like rather than being like, oh, you tried to kill like the Red Baron, but the Red Baron escaped, and now you have to keep trying to kill the Red Baron by like following him over that mountain. Instead, it's like you defeated the Marilith, and it becomes obsessed with you, and now it's hunting you, and so it's doing the work, and it's almost more like. Whenever the DM is like, oh, we haven't seen that Marilith in a while, hey, like just bursts through a portal like in a nearby hill and just sort of runs at you, and you're like, oh no, fucking hell. Yeah, I really like that. I like that a lot because it's both a reoccurring villain. It incorporates like it's just got a lot of things I like. It's a reoccurring villain, which is obviously a super powerful narrative trope. It's got a powerfully motivated villain, which is also really good and lets the players feel like they're part of a world outside of themselves, even though this case it's someone obsessed with them. But even like it incorporates the other planes and makes them relevant to their adventures, which is always something that I want to do more of. The idea of being like, obviously you guys quest in the material plane, but like you're so important that they talk about you in like the plane of like they talk about you in Olympus or whatever, and like. But like making that very direct, like maybe not everyone in the abyss knows about you, but this one Marilith does and cares, like really wants to get back at you, and like maybe that's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing, like you know what I mean, like maybe it's good that like lesser demons know your name because of how dangerous you are, but like also you've got this really deadly enemy constantly pursuing you.
Yeah, it's just kind of hilarious that in the abyss there's like some demons there just like those heroes on the material plane. God, I hate them so much. Like they're just obsessed with you for some reason because you just keep thwarting their plans. It's like, aren't there better things to be worrying about in the abyss? But except for like these bozos who are, questing in another dimension.
But that's the nature of like a chaotic creature, that like they're kind of emotive, and so like they become obsessed with you because you beat them, and like maybe it's like you're their first taste of defeat, and so they're like, I'm going to prove that I'm stronger than this. I'm going to go back and beat them. But every time they do, they lose. And so, like, their obsession becomes deeper and deeper. And then, they just keep coming for you again and again. And eventually, like, you either have to, bind them so they can't come back, or, like, go into the abyss to hunt them down to finally finish them off.
Yeah.
Like a fucking showdown in there. I mean, if we take the idea of Vudra, how it's described, like this Marilith will have their own fucking island in a sea of blood, and so you have to like, get like a crew of damned souls to run a pirate ship so that you can even get there, and then you fucking have to siege their naval fortress, and like, I mean, like that's just, that's great.
Yeah,
I fucking love that game. D&D is really good.
It's good. It's a great game. You can kind of just do anything, man. This is the same kind of game where you can do all this cool crap, but also argue over what your character's going to have for breakfast that morning.
And get married.
and just get married. Yeah. Is there? So you kind of touched upon different kinds of weapons, but than swords that she can wield. I was picturing, what if she had like, what if you made another kind of Marilith where it's like a ranged weapons,
like a bow Marilith who's like all about like mastering ranged combat and stuff like that.
Yeah, that would be very cool. Like just kind of 4 bows, or not 4 bows, or
3 bows, I guess. If it was used, or like arguably like like 6 hand crossbows.
Yes, but that's just not like, do you think they make those in the Abyss, like hand crossbows?
I don't know. I mean, if someone asked.
Yeah, I guess so.
I prefer 3 bows personally.
And that's very cool. Yeah.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
Or 6 guns, 6 pistols.
I'm just imagining a Marilith with like a big cowboy hat and like a big belt buckle and stuff.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw part. Actually, that would be really cool as a fucking like, as like the version of the evil, like, the bandit who runs town, but it's like the Outlands, right? The fucking the desert, the infinite desert plane that connects all other planes, and it's just a town in the middle of the air, and like the fucking evil bandit is like a Marilith with 6 pistols.
I thought you were going to say that that's rad, but I thought you were about to say that it's the version of the Marilith character we were workshopping there, but in the cowboy universe.
Yes.
When you do your games, but like they're in a cowboy universe where everything's the same, but it's just
but everyone's cowboys. Yeah.
Everyone's cowboys.
Yeah. The bottle episode where everyone's cowboys.
Yeah.
I actually would love to do that, to be honest. Like, all joking aside, I would actually love to have a campaign and then just do a game where it's like, play the same characters, but you're a cowboy. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you have to, like, you almost have to, like, put your character through the cowboy filter and they come out the other side.
There's they haven't been localized for Western audiences, but there's 2 Yakuza games where it's based in like Edo period Japan, and the characters are all named differently, but they're all the same characters, and
that's so good.
And it's very cool. It's kind of like the characters are like actors playing different characters, but they're still kind of similar acting characters, because you got like Kiryu and you got like Majima as well. They're all cool, but I just always want to do that with like D&D, where like, as you said,
I would love
same characters, but good. We're cowboys or we're in space, like
but we're cowboys or we're in space or like whatever. It's like stupid and like it's so good.
Yeah, man, that's great. So that's the Marilith there. That's really it. We got nothing else to talk about. Okay, final thoughts on the Marilith. Super cool martial monster, I guess, but there's plenty of those. But kind of like you can do a very good warrior kind of trope, but like would make a very good boss monster.
It would make a good recurring villain because of its high intelligence and kind of willpower and sort of ability to sort of pursue its own ends. As part of the Abyss, so it's got a bit more independence than a lot of the creatures listed under the demon stat block. It is straightforward, but it's also kind of iconic, I guess. And it does, even though it is straightforward, because of the nature of having lots of attacks, it does actually feel distinct from a lot of other monsters in the monster manual. Because obviously, as we all know, attacks are very good. They're a very good way to remove enemies from the battlefield. So making a creature with the design being, I want this creature to have as many attacks as it has hands, is sort of a little different, but very cool as a result.
Yeah. So it gets a seal of approval from Creature Club. Use it.
Absolutely. Yeah. In terms of, if we want to very briefly touch on, in terms of magic items, I think it had the art depicted in this monster manual here, which is a lovely piece of art. The creature has a number of kind of wristbands on it. Maybe you could take one of those wristbands and it would give you the Marilith's parry ability. That could be kind of cool and straightforward.
Yeah.
But the parry would be based on, as far as I can tell, your parry is based on your dex mod. So obviously it wouldn't be 5 for you, it would be your dex mod, but even still, having that option is pretty cool. And I mean, if you want to get like super hardcore, you could like stitch its arms to you so you have more arms.
Yeah, or like a spell that you use a part of its blood or something as a component to like give your characters like a boost moment or Super Saiyan moment where they get extra arms.
Yeah, or even like using it to give them like haste, like to represent like, you know, being faster and stuff like that.
Yeah, basically giving them haste, but flavor wise, they have 6 arms now. So
more arms. Yeah.
And a snake body, because I guess that's how it has 40 feet. Yeah, I can go with that. Turn yourself into a Marilith. No, but
Transform.
Time to transform and roll out. Yeah, and make those swords into magic swords. We cannot stress that enough. Do that. That'll be cool.
Obviously, if you do make them into magic swords, think about whether that will have much of an impact in combat. If you make them all just +1 weapons, you can just say that it's already calculated in their longsword attack, or you can add it. If you want to give them longswords that have, say, like a lightning longsword that deals an extra d6 lightning damage or something, you might struggle to remember that. In that sense, what I would actually recommend would be magic longswords that have like spell-like abilities in them, so that they can kind of once per day cast a spell, so that when the party take them off the Marilith, they get a set of very unique weapons that all do different things, but also it'll actually make it easier for you to run it in combat, because you're not doing more mats, you're just expanding your list of abilities.
Yeah.
That's what I do. Like, obviously, if you're comfortable, you know, remembering that, like, one of its longsword attacks gets an extra d6 lightning, one gets an extra d6 poison, you know what I mean? Like, if you can do that and you don't find that a problem, then by all means. But like, for me, I'd be like, one of its swords can cast like blade barrier once a day, and one can do this or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? It'd be like, this sword lets you cast lightning bolt 3 times a day, and so she just like lightning bolts the party or whatever.
Yeah, I get you. And also, yeah, just because if you're doing like extra d6, that could kind of like it could be a lot of damage in the end, you know, against your party. So it already does, because it has a lot of attacks, it already potentially can do a lot of damage.
Yeah, so like kind of things that like more like damage in different ways isn't a bad idea, but maybe like, you know, things it can use its sword to do that like fit the tone of the fight, fit the character of the Marilith, but also when the party win, like it will be cool that they got these swords.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you don't know, like, and if you're not sure what kind of, and if you want them to be magic swords without like, you know, wanting to think about what kind of swords they are, and maybe the party are a little lower level, or you have a less magical campaign, a really simple thing to do would just be that like the swords are like demon forged swords, so like they're just long swords that are magic, and it's just like they don't have any other special qualities, but they're magical. And maybe like, because they're made of like demon iron, they're easier to enchant if you want to get a wizard to put another spell on them or something.
Yeah, and they because they are just like magical weapons, because that's what it says on the stat block.
Yes, they are. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep, very true. Yeah.
So
very good point.
They would be if you wanted to loot them, but they are large. So remember that they would be large weapons because she's large.
Yes.
So not
that's
everybody
very true.
Could, maybe they're great swords or something. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, that's interesting. Yeah, you could have it with their because a large longsword, at least in terms of its dice, is stronger than a greatsword. So maybe it's a greatsword, but you have like maybe a really simple thing to do would be say, okay, so it's a large longsword, which means that like medium creatures will have to wield it 2-handed. If you're large, you can wield it 1-handed, and then just say you also need a minimum strength of say 15.
Yeah.
Which means like the fighters can still use it, but like not everyone can, and it'll feel like, you know, you need to be pretty strong to use this thing, like a lot stronger than a normal person.
Yeah, because it's cool if she like drops one on them, and your party doesn't have magical weapons, and your fighter just picks it up and just like goes in for a stab and like magical weapon attack with your own weapon. And that's kind of, you know, that'll be cool.
Yeah,
because it's like a puzzle. Absolutely. That's like a puzzle encounter, I guess. my favorite things.
That's not a bad idea, actually. The idea that like the Marilith, the best weapons to defeat it are its own swords.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool, actually. And then like it's like, how do you get it to drop its weapons?
Yeah,
and then also like, how do you wield its weapons? Like, you know, I think there are very brief rules that they might even just be like, you're not allowed to do it, but like for wielding larger weapons than yourself in battle. But even just the idea of like coming up with some system that makes sense to you, like, you have to have at least 15 strength, or you could say like you just always have disadvantage because it's unwieldy. So like, you know, whatever you want to do, but that's a cool idea actually, that like you're fighting a Marilith and the best thing to do is actually try to figure out how to disarm it.
Yeah,
I like that a lot. That's cool. That feels like a video game boss.
Yeah,
in a very good way.
I had this image in my head of one of the swords just kind of turning into a snake and like biting you while fighting.
Oh, that's really good, man.
Yeah,
that's really good.
And then also had the other image in my head is if she had a bow, then using snake arrows like Thulsa Doom in Conan.
Oh, dude, you are fucking. Look at this. You're like, oh, I'm sick of the drink. You're fucking on fire.
I'm on fire, man.
That's brilliant. I really like that idea. Like snake arrows that are like, you know, they fucking hit you once and then they poison you and then they fucking attack someone else. You're like, Dutch, there's snakes everywhere. What's happening?
Yeah, maybe you can kind of grapple you, and while it's grappled, you're poisoned or something. I don't know.
That is a really good idea.
It does like a very simple, like a D4 poison damage every turn, where it can be a nuisance, like get off me, snake, and then but it's still
piss off, ghost.
It's still like it still does an extra thing to do in battle, I guess. Is to get rid of this snake that's on you, so it can add a bit of chaos to it. That snake sword though, I don't know. Maybe it can kind of like, because it can kind of move around on the hilt, and maybe when it tries to attack you and you miss, you can like bonus action or like legendary action, if you're giving a legendary action, to like turn the sword into a snake and then kind of curl around and bite you from behind or something. Something cool like that.
And remember, her swords are large long swords, so like they would be probably like medium-sized snakes, like as big as a person.
Wow.
So you could use like the constrictors from the back of the monster manual to be like, oh, it's fucking big snakes, boss. Like,
so you can grapple with like your snake swords and do the same thing. Do the same thing you do with the tail, but that.
Yeah, so like you're grabbing more of the party. That's a good idea. That's very cool. I like that a lot.
Excellent. There we go. I said something.
Right.
I'm happy that I gave an idea. I didn't want to go through this entire episode without saying something.
Fair enough. Well, they were very good ideas, and you should feel very, very proud of them.
Thank you, Dan.
Will I wrap us up?
Let's wrap us up.
If you have enjoyed this episode, you can subscribe. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Stitcher, if anyone uses that. If you would find it easier, you can go to our website, which is creatureclubpodcast.com. You can listen to us there. You can also find our RSS feed there, which you might want for your subscription tool, depending on how you subscribe and listen to podcasts. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to give feedback, maybe talk about how you used Mariliths in your game, you can comment below the episode on our website, or you can contact us on our website. Or if you prefer, you can find us on Twitter. We're at CreatureClubPod. Or you can email us, which is creatureclubpodcast@gmail.com. If you are going to email us, we are always interested in your home brews, whether they be creatures or magic items or spells or even player classes, whatever you have. We love talking about the homebrews that our listeners send us. We did one homebrew episode. We're going to do another one very soon, and we're very excited about it.
As Daniel said before, with the homebrews, if we have a lot of epic level boss monsters, so if you
big boys, yes.
If you would like to get into the next episode, we'll probably talk about every single monster in upcoming episodes, but if you kind of want to get in there, maybe a lower CR monster we are kind of looking for right now. So if you happen to have one of those and you don't mind sending it in, then send it in. Go ahead.
Absolutely. And while we are kind of talking at the end, obviously it's Tim's thing to talk about any reviews, so we won't do that, but I will just mention very briefly that the Crypto Cartographer, which is a blog you can find, cryptocartographer.net, they gave us a shout out on their blog, talking about different D&D podcasts that they'd recommend to their readers. So I really appreciate that. And of course, we've actually got a couple of other shout outs as well. We got one in a Reddit thread about D&D podcasts, and another one on r/Ireland Games. Someone linked us and said, because obviously we're proud Irishmen. Obviously 2/3 of us now, 66% of us are no longer in Ireland, but we're still very proud of where we're from.
We're still Irish,
and we're very happy to be shouted out on that site, which is very cool. So yeah, I just thought I'd mention, because I noticed a spike in downloads, and I was like, what's going on?
Yeah, I woke up this morning.
Is it the robots? What's going on?
I woke up this morning and then I my phone was buzzing, and then it was yourself and Tim on our WhatsApp chat, just kind of like, what's going on? What's with all
Trying
these
to
listens?
solve the mystery.
Yeah.
I got to play Internet Detective for a bit, which is always lots of fun.
Yeah, it's always a bit of fun. So if you're a new listener, hello, welcome to Creature Club. Great to have you.
Yeah, glad to have you. Absolutely.
Thank you for listening, and all that. Plenty more creature goodness coming your way.
I think that's everything.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye and bye. We'll see you very soon. We'll talk to you very soon. I have been Mikey.
And I've been Dan.
Stay cool. I'm gonna sleep now.
Yeah, you go to bed, man.
I'm going to bed.